In today's video, we're going to talk about taking massive action! Welcome back to Intentional Wealth. My name is Sylvan J. Rahman. Today's video is in response to a comment that I got on a video that I released about a month ago. And that video is entitled Fear of Failure. If you haven't watched that video, I don't know what's wrong with you. You should have watched that video by now. I mean, I did release it like a month ago. If you have watched the video, I would recommend rewatching it so you get the whole perspective of what I'm talking about today. We're gonna go over what the comment was, my answer to the comment, and what I'm doing in my life to take action. And not just any action, but massive action! But first, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon so you're notified every time we release new content. So the comment to my Fear of Failure video was actually left by a friend of mine, Leon Severus. And he left it about a week ago. So Leon, you're a little late to the ball commenting and watching the video 3 weeks after it was released. Come on, man. Help me out here, okay? The comment goes, great video, love the idea for a bias of action and the kiss of death. That hesitation really does kill the idea on the spot. Did she give any idea about interrupting that hesitation? Well, the she that he is referring to is Mel Robbins and her book, The 5-Second Rule. And the idea of getting around the hesitation is basically the title of her book, The 5-Second Rule. So I'm gonna read it in her own words, what the premise of the book is and the rule, so that it is in her own words and not mine. And this is off her website about the 5-second rule. The 5-second rule is simple. If you have an instinct to act on a goal, you must physically move within 5 seconds or your brain will kill it. The moment you feel an instinct or a desire to act on a goal or a commitment, use the rule. When you feel yourself hesitate before doing something that you know you should do, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and move towards action. There is a window that exists between the moment you have an instinct to change and your mind killing it. It's a 5-second window, and she actually calls it the kiss of death in her book, and it exists for everybody. If you do not take action on your instinct to change, you will stay stagnant. You will not change. But if you do one simple thing, you can prevent your mind from working against you. You can start the momentum before the barrage of thoughts and excuses hit you at full force. What do? Just start counting backwards to yourself. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The counting will focus you on the goal or commitment and distract you from the worries, thoughts, and excuses in your mind. As soon as you reach 1, push yourself to move, physically move. This is how you push yourself to do the hard stuff, the work that you don't feel like doing, or you're scared of doing, or you're avoiding. That's it. 5 seconds is all it takes. If you don't act on an instinct within that 5-second window, that's it. You're not doing it. I like this idea. I like the 5-second rule in terms of things that you need to take action on now, like going to exercise or eating less or eating right, or just simple things that you need to do in your daily life that you need to get done. And I think this idea works on those things. I kind of use it a little bit. I don't use it all the time, being very honest. And I've noticed that the times that I actually do use it, I get things done, such as working out, which is very rarely, so I guess I don't use it very much. Anyway, but the issue of what we're talking about today is not necessarily taking action, but taking massive action! And so how do you get around to taking massive action and getting really big goals done? Well, first, comment down below and let me know what you do, what type of action you take, and how you get around the hesitation to take that action. This video is all about taking massive action, but in order to do that, we need to talk about setting goals, because this is where it all starts. When we set a goal, we all have a tendency to want to do something. But the problem is, we have a tendency to think that it has to be some sort of massive action in order for us to achieve our goal. Then we start to think about what is that massive action. And when we start to think too much on this massive action, this is where we give ourselves the time for self-doubt, hesitation, and the forget everything and run type of fear set into place. And when we let this thought process set into place, this is the thought process that either slows us down from taking action, or worse, totally stops us from taking action. Before I share with you the steps that I take to create massive action, comment down below and let me know, how are you taking massive action? This first thing that I want to talk to you about is not necessarily a step in the process of creating massive action, but it does deserve an honorable mention because it is actually the thing that starts off the whole process of creating massive action. And honestly, it happens to all of us, and this is it. At some point, we are all going to have an idea about something that we want to do. And the first thing that we should do, at least this is what I do, is I write that idea down in a journal. The second thing that I also do, and that you should probably do, is tell somebody about it. Now, I have a slight issue sometimes when I have an idea, well, most times when I have an idea, because my best ideas come to me at 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm laying in bed next to my sleeping wife. Now, I just value my life too much, and I'm not willing to put it on the line to find out what would happen if I tried to wake up my wife to tell her about an idea that I've had. Now, if you're like me and you sometimes find yourself in situations where you're unable to write down your idea or tell somebody immediately, then what I do at 2 o'clock in the morning is I immediately text it to myself. So at the first opportunity that I get, I write it down and I tell my wife my idea. There are two reasons why I think you should write your ideas down. And the first reason is you don't want to forget your ideas. And that leads me into reason number 2. And that is because your ideas are going to fall into 2 little categories. The first category is what I like to call your future ideas. Ideas that are going to take way longer than 12 months for you to ever implement. For instance, I had an idea sometime last year, more than 12 months ago, that I know that I want to try. It's a little business strategy that is so far out of the box that I think it could actually make a viral video. Now, this is a strategy that I'm going to have certain things in place, one of those things being a fair amount of cash on hand. Now, the second category of ideas is what I like to call my action ideas. These are ideas where you can start implementing within the next 12 months and where you can start the process of massive action! My method for creating massive action is actually a 3-step process. And the first step in that process is defining a goal. Now, a lot of people get goals and objectives confused, but they are 2 separate things, and we'll talk about objectives later on. Now, goals are typically a desired result that I want to achieve that are broad and long term. It is the where I want to go, not necessarily how I'm going to get there. For example, I have a personal goal that I want to create a portfolio that buys and owns 20 real estate properties in 5 years and pays off that portfolio in 15 years. Now that I have this broad and long-term goal, how am I going to get there? That brings me to my second step. The next step in my process is what I like to call my plan of action step. And this is a very important step. This is where I set objectives to achieve my goals. And this is also a very important step because this is where we can totally plan out the self-doubt, the hesitation, and the forget everything and run type of fear that we all feel when we're trying to do something. Because if I have a proper plan in place, then there should be no reason why I can't achieve my goals. Now, this is where I set objectives. And objectives are measurable actions that I can take to achieve my goals. And when I set an objective, I make sure I'm following the SMART criteria. And SMART is an acronym that stands for, are they specific? Are they measurable? Are they attainable? Are they realistic? And are they time sensitive? In my goal of owning a real estate portfolio of 20 properties in 5 years, I know I have to have certain objectives in place. One of those objectives is that I have to take down 4 properties every year in order to reach my 20 in 5 years. That also means that I have to buy, on average, 1 property every 3 months. Now, that is a very specific objective. It's measurable, it's attainable, it is realistic, and it is time-bound. Now, one thing I will say about the realistic part is, yes, the objective is realistic, but is your plan realistic right now? Right now, my plan is not realistic, and this is the reason. I have to have certain things in place before I can even start on this plan, and that is something that I'm working on right now. So even before you can start this plan, sometimes you just have to be ready to start, and you have to get things in the proper place to start them. This also brings me to the next step of being realistic with your objectives. And this is the most important part of it all. The most important thing that you're going to do now that you have a goal in place and you have your plan of action with objectives in place is you're going to take the action. That means you're going to have to remain consistent. Consistency is the key in anything we do in our lives. Look, there are times in our lives where we're going to fall off the wagon in something we're doing, and we're going to think that we're failures because we fell off the wagon. No, just because you've fallen off the wagon doesn't mean you can't get back on the wagon and continue to be consistent. In my opinion, consistency means that over a longer period of time, you are doing the work that you need to do in order to complete your objectives and achieve your goal. I know that in order for me to achieve my goal of owning a 20+ property portfolio in 15 years that is totally paid off for, that I am going to have to remain consistent. And one of those things that I'm going to have to remain consistent on is looking at deals on a weekly or monthly basis. I know at some point I'm going to fall off the wagon and stop looking at deals, but that doesn't mean I have failed in my goal as long as I hit it in the time frame that I want. I just have to get back up on the wagon and start looking at deals again. Because in 15 years, when I own a 20+ property portfolio that is totally bought and paid for, people are going to ask me, how did you take massive action in your real estate business? Well, this is how you do it. You remain consistent with your objectives in order for you to reach your goal. And that looks like massive action. But people don't realize that it's actually just a goal that is reverse engineered into smaller steps over a longer period of time. As long as you remain consistent and don't give up, always get back up on the wagon, you will not fail. Now, you might have to extend your goals or extend your time limit, but the whole point in this process is to go ahead, remain consistent, and don't give up. That is how you create massive action! If you like what you've seen here today, then go ahead and consider subscribing to the channel, like and share the video, and go ahead and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And go ahead and comment down below on what you think about my steps in creating massive action. And we'll see you next week.